friends, this is the Bijou Baker. I'm Maria, and I've got company today. This is my niece, Jean, and she's Beauty and the Stamper, and she's got a phenomenal website, you guys, or a YouTube channel. Check it out. I doubt you will walk away without learning something. I watch her work all the time, and I still learn stuff. So here's the thing, and the reason I point out why she's my niece. She just lost her brother this week, and so tomorrow, we're having his celebration of life, which means we're going to have a party remembering everything about him, and we can't wait. Sorrow is tucked away for now. Now it's time to have fun. So we've got a lot of baking to do. She's going to make his absolute favorite, which is white chocolate macadamia nut. I've got oatmeal cookies going. I've got a chocolate cake in the oven. I've got peanut butter cookies going. And then we've got the stove that we're going to use later on today and tomorrow morning. So we're busy. But we kind of want to show you how she's been following my channel because she's a sweetheart and she wants to learn some good stuff. So, but she's never really done a lot of baking. She's baked. You know, you get that craving, you're just going to get something in the oven and that's what you want, right? So she's got my recipe. She has everything laid down here. I don't know if you can see the way I have it set up here. In culinary terms, this is called your mise en place, which is basically putting everything in place. So everything is measured out and ready to go for her. So now all she's got to do is follow that recipe. I'm going to be busy here doing what I got to do, not leaving her side in case she has any questions. And then she's probably going to have the same questions that you guys have. So let's see how this turns out, okay? All right, so Jean, you got everything you need. The first thing though, we need to chop these amazing macadamia nut cookies. And she did check them. They are good.
They are good.
Now, because we're going to do a banquet style where there's going to be one recipe is going to be let's try English. Because we're going to do a banquet style and we need to stretch that recipe, because when you have this kind of food, you don't want the kind of cookie that you're going to make your family and it's a nice big cookie. There's a lot of waste there, so we don't want waste. So we're going to chop our cookies, nuts a lot smaller than we would this time because we're going to use a smaller cookie scoop. And if you have a nut that's too big, you're going to get a scoop full of nut. And that might be okay, but you know. So go ahead and chop them up good, but not fine, not like a dust, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start my recipe. And in the meantime, I want to tell you guys, up here I showed you how to start processing your own cake recipe. The things that you're going to need, you know, to make sure that the cake is going to turn out good. For cookies, here, you know what? Let me show you. That's okay. No, chopping is chopping, but
nuts are rolling all over the place.
That'll happen. So the camera's a little high right now, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to show her. So you've got your cutting board here. You're going to hold this down, and the only thing that's going to move is this knife. And you can go this way, you can go that way, and then put it together, and then continue going. So when the only thing that's moving, plus I'm in your way, so let's give you a little bit more room. And then, got it? Yep. All right, so you do that. Now, for cookies, when you want to make your own cookie recipe, if a cookie recipe starts with a cup of butter, you're good. There are some things, when I'm looking at a recipe, there are some things that I'm looking for. If it has a butter and shortening mixture, you're going to get a crispy cookie. Not crunchy, but crispy. And that might be exactly what you want. I've got a phenomenal peanut butter recipe that requires both butter and shortening, and it does. It gives you just that outside little crunch, which is yummy. So, the sugar and the flour should be within the same quantity. So those are the things you're going to look for, and always egg. Unless it's one of those offside that, you know, like a flourless cake, it's not going to have flour. But you always want butter, egg, and a flour sugar ratio to be even. So there's that. She's chopping. I'm going to go ahead and put a cup of butter, and usually a cup of butter is a good amount. If you see a recipe and it asks for half a cup of butter and half a cup of sugar or whatever, you already know it's going to be a small batch. So keep that in mind. How many will this make? I don't usually make the small ones because they're so good. But let's go ahead and I'll try to keep track of it. I'm lying, I'll probably forget. But what I am going to do is we're going to get this going, and we're going to put them on a cookie sheet, and I'm going to put them in the freezer, and then tomorrow morning I'll bake them. Okay? All right, so we've got our butter in, and Jean has washed her hands and her hair is up. Am I happy or what?
I did that without you even asking.
I know you did. Who said you're not a quick learner? All right. Now, when you're doing your cookies, you always want to get your butter and your sugar mixed together to incorporate really well and get light and fluffy. You've heard that term, I'm sure, 100 times when you see cookie shows and whatever. This is a combination of brown sugar and white sugar, and I've just kind of mixed them together here. Now with the oatmeal raisin that I'm making, I've taken my raisins and I sifted together my flour and some spices, cinnamon and nutmeg and that sort of stuff. And I got those sifted together and put aside. And then I put some of that flour in here. I put about a tablespoon of flour in here just to coat the raisins so that they'll mix into the whole batter instead of just like floating on top or sinking to the bottom. So once the recipe for cookies is essentially the same straight across the board. You put in your butter, you cream your sugar with your butter, get them light and fluffy. Then you add your eggs one at a time. It's going to get really wet. That's what you want. Usually when you add your eggs, you're going to add your vanilla. So that's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind. So, Jean, if you like, I'll go ahead and finish that up, and then you can start your stuff.
Yes, please.
Sure, no problem. I got this, baby. All right, so I'm going to chop this up, and then Jean, if you want to go ahead and tell them what you're doing each step so that they know it's not just...
Do you give the measurements and everything?
Never give measurements. What's wrong with you? No, the recipes will be available later, I promise.
Okay. So we've got flour, and then we've got salt. And we're going to mix that because we mix all the dry ingredients together.
Yes, we do. Look at her go. Look at her go.
And then we have baking soda and baking powder.
Now, when you're using both, you're going to get a really good light cookie. And remember, I showed you the difference between baking soda and baking powder, and I even showed you how to make your own baking powder. So keep in mind what it is you're doing in the end, you know. So
I have a question for you.
yes.
Sugar is treated like a wet ingredient, or because you don't mix the sugar, right?
You don't,
You
because
mix it with butter or something.
yes, you cream the butter and the sugar. They're almost always creamed together because the texture of the sugar, the coarse grains, is going to break up the butter, and the butter is going to fluff up the sugar. So they're kind of like me and you. We work well together.
Okay, so this is all
That's good to go.
sifted together, and we just set it to the side.
Correct.
Then we're going to work on wet ingredients, right?
Well,
Okay, add flour, baking powder. Oh, you actually have it all
I do.
written.
I do.
Okay, next we're going to cream the butter.
I make sure nothing's left for guessing, because that means you could have a chance of fail, and that's not on my agenda.
Does this
There you go.
Oh, it doesn't lift, does it?
No, it doesn't. That's a Wonder Woman 5X1000. Yeah.
I do not have the Wonder Woman.
Well, but I think every mother, every woman has a little bit of wonder in her.
All right, so I don't think they could see what I'm doing, but I just put the butter in. And then the sugars, both sugars.
One at a time,
which
but yes.
is white sugar.
So first you're gonna pick the mixer up.
The mixer up.
Mm-hmm. And if I was smart, which you know that's gonna. When you're working with cookies, you want to paddle the paddle mixer. I'm sorry, that was completely my bad.
And I just put butter on that one.
Oh my gosh, you're fired. All right, now you are ready to rock.
Okay. So I'm gonna turn this on with the butter.
Yeah, at about 2 or 3.
And while that's going, I'm gonna add
You got it.
white sugar. Right?
Yep.
I feel like Julia Child.
You do.
Next, I take the brown sugar.
Incorporated white will. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that for more than a second, I think. It's a hard voice to mimic. I don't know how Dan Aykroyd did it so There's a lot of nuts here.
That's nuts.
It is nuts.
Okay, so
Pick up the speed.
well, do I have to scrape the sides at all?
No, not yet. Now, you'll see that it's going to start to change color, and it'll get light and fluffy. All right, these are pretty good. I don't want them too small because I want you guys to enjoy the size, so.
I have gum in my mouth because that's the only way I cannot eat the batter if I have some gum in my mouth.
Rule of thumb, never chew gum when you're baking or cooking. Here. I'm sorry. I think she knows that. That's why she mentioned it.
Why? Are you being real?
Oh, very real. I'm absolutely serious about that because we all know that person who chews gum like it's curd. You know, and it's just and it splashes, it sprays, and oh no. No. So yeah. So thank you for telling me.
Alright, this looks light and fluffy.
Yes, it does. Now you can turn it off, pull it down, scrape it. In the meantime, I'm going to add my eggs to this batter. And all my herbs, no, I do not have herbs. All my seasonings are in my flour already. All right, so I'm going to slowly add in my dry ingredients. It's always going to be the same. It's almost always going to be the same process. Oh, did I forget that? Nope, it usually goes in. Oh. You got the recipe there, baby. You can't miss it. I promise.
Alright, is this good or do we still need more?
That's good. Now you put your eggs in one at a time. Now for my new bakers, the best way to do it is to crack them into a bowl so that you don't get the splinters. Hopefully you don't get splinters with your eggs. Eggshells. So yep. There you go. So that goes in. and then do the same thing, but right, with the next one.
While it's blending?
It doesn't matter. If you're more comfortable with it off,
okay,
rock it with it off. Then turn it on, let it go. In the meantime, you can crack the other egg. Now, I've got my, how's that? I've got my dough ready to, it's essentially finished. I am just going to add the oatmeal by hand. Not that it's going to break it up a whole lot, but I just assume it doesn't break it at all.
And now I've added both eggs. Do I wait for it to beat for a while?
You wait till it's well incorporated. So when I say well incorporated, that basically means that you don't see egg and you just see a wet batter. And again, a good rule of thumb when you're making cookies, and then when you're designing your own cookie recipe, which I really hope you do. It's a little intimidating, but stick with me, baby. I'll take you places. All right, so I've got my oatmeal that I'm going to just kind of fold in. Once your eggs nicely mixed and incorporated, then you add your vanilla. So that's all I'm doing is just incorporating the oatmeal.
Okay.
All right. What's next?
Add flour on low speed.
And then you'll do a little bit at a time just so you don't get the poof effect.
All of the flour?
A little at a time just so you don't get the poof effect.
I know, but the whole thing of flour goes in.
Yes. Now I've got the raisins. I gotta tell you guys, this recipe, oh my gosh, it is so incredibly good. Soft and chewy, and now I know that I said I'm gonna freeze these for tomorrow, but I'm a high believer in quality control, so I'm gonna have to make a batch of each. just to make sure. I don't enjoy that part.
Then, can I tell you I like that it's all measured out like this?
Yeah, it doesn't come that way, but it's a nice idea.
Business idea. You could just sell the whole thing.
Well, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're absolutely right. Okay, so that's good. That's incorporated. You can turn that off. When you add your flour to anything, you really want to minimize the work. It can get glutinous afterwards, and so you don't want that.
You can overbeat it. You mean?
You can overbeat it. You can overbeat it, and then it becomes tough and chewy, and we simply won't have that.
Remove bowl from mixer.
She is so good, I'm telling you. So the best way to do that is to lift the paddle. There you go, and then pop that thing off.
Oh my gosh, this is so different from mine. Here, you're gonna have.
Oh. I know. Okay, can you smell that chocolate cake? How do you not smell it? Okay, I smell it. I can tell that there's at least 20 minutes left for it to be finished.
You can tell by your nose?
I can tell by my nose. I don't know the last time I used a timer. I think in high school.
I don't smell very well. I mean,
I don't know. You smell nice.
I smell good, but my nose does not.
Oh, your
smell.
sniffer. Your sniffer's broken.
We have a live studio audience.
Yep.
Or is that the laugh roll back there?
That's a giggle box. You know, I'm telling you, if you can't have fun in the kitchen, just go out to eat. I mean, let's just save everything. Okay. Oh, I love that you're being as chintzy with the dough as I am, because I get it. All right.
Okay. Good?
Good. I'll take that here. And then you can finish the recipe.
All right. Now we're going to incorporate add nuts.
You see what I have to put up with? And add the doggone nuts.
And chips by hand.
Yes. And that's because these items are now delicate. As delicate as a nut could be. When you're making this cookie, you want to use a high quality white chocolate.
Is this one Ghirardelli?
It is a high quality chocolate.
Oh, you can't use the name.
Isn't that stupid? It's not as though you guys don't know.
I think I said the name wrong anyways.
I think it's pronounced Ghirardelli. But what do I know? I didn't say that. All right, so I am going to bake up a couple of each of these cookies, and then I'm going to lay them out on a bigger cookie sheet really close together, and then freeze them. Now, she had asked earlier if I kept them in the freezer for a month or two, if they would still be good and fresh. When I do them and I freeze them, because I'm not a huge fan of frozen foods unless they're frozen properly. That looks really good.
That looks really good. And they can't see.
Oh yeah, that looks good. So, all right, you have, oh, we're gonna share this. We're gonna share this. And this is a 1 ounce cookie scoop. And that's how we'll put them on. So go ahead and just put 6 on here. We'll bake those, quality control, remember. And then the rest of them, we're going to, like I said, we're going to put them on a rack. We're going to put them close together. Once they're frozen and they're hard, then I vacuum seal them in a dozen a bag, 3 dozen a bag, 6 in a bag, whatever you want to do. But it's kind of neat to want a cookie, a fresh cookie, and not have to go bake the whole batch. You can just pop it out of the freezer, let it sit on the tray for a bit, and count yourself gold, baby. So if you don't have a food saver vacuum thinger upper, you could use Ziploc bags or, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get these in the oven, and we're going to put the other ones on racks.
Did you finish yours in the same exact time I finished mine?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see you make that.
You know how I made this? I made this basically the same way I do everything else around the house. I just and it works. Go figure.
You're dating yourself, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's okay. All right, so we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got proof that they're good. And this is essentially how they're just gonna be lined up on a sheet. They're gonna freeze like this for, I'll probably freeze them. I'll freeze them overnight, and then tomorrow morning when I get up, I'll take them out. All you have to do is put them on a prepared cookie sheet, let them come to room temperature, and pop them in the oven, and you are good to go. So the other cookies are in the oven. The chocolate cake just came out of the oven, and now we're gonna move on to the other cookies. But you got the idea of a cookie process building. So step out and make your own cookies. You can combine your flavors in any combination you like, and that's it. So, all right, let me just check one thing before I sign off. No, I lied. I lied. I'm signing off now. Let me just do it this way. Okay, my friends, this is the Bijou Baker. Until next time, happy baking.
That was fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe.